Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Davis, along with Julia Greef and Teri Angel. Today, we're going to be interviewing our guest speaker, Teri Angel, and she's going to let us know what it is that she does as far as human trafficking and having that awareness. This is a very special project that she's also doing, and I'm sure that she has many things to share with us. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Teri. She's an international peace ambassador and the founder of a nonprofit corporation, Angel Speakers, Inc. Teri is an angel messenger, a spiritual coach and teacher, and an energy healer. She has been communicating with the angels her entire life. Teri is currently on a Peace on Earth tour, spreading the message of peace throughout the country. Hi, Teri. Thank you for coming. Can you tell us a little bit about what you are doing?
Joe, hi Julia, and welcome everyone that's going to be watching this. So thank you, Lisa Joe, for reading about what I do. I heard almost 5 years ago now to go on the road to spread the message of peace and to bring peace into different areas, creating a grid of energy across the country. Well, early last year, I had this message from the angels to start paying attention as I traveled across the country. Pay attention to interactions of people. I spend a lot of time stopping at rest areas, public rest areas across the country, um, public restrooms, different restaurants, hotels. So it's a matter of opening our eyes to see what's going on with human trafficking. And that is what the angels was drawing my attention to. That's what they wanted me to be more aware of. And I heard very clearly that I was supposed to do something about awareness of human trafficking and what we can do. Us, the common people. Many times in my life, I've said, what can I do? I'm just one person, right? But when we have that kind of mentality, then we're not going to be effective. When we think, okay, I am one person, what can I do? What effort can I make to make a difference and to bring awareness to this? So, with the help of many people that are followers of the Peace on Earth tour and of angel speakers, we developed, first of all, the name that came very clearly and very quickly was Save Someone's Child. We are all someone's child, right? And human trafficking does involve a lot of children, a lot of innocence. And so that just made perfect sense that it would be called this. And so on my website, which is angelspeakers.com, there's information about human trafficking. And that's the first part, when we can become aware of what the heck are we looking for in the first place, right? I mean, if we don't know, we don't know. And so that's our goal, is to help you know what's going on, what's out there. And it does take some information, because you might be seeing just a rebellious child that's upset with its parent and, acting out or acting belligerently. Or you might see a child that's very withdrawn and not making eye contact or not interacting. So it's, what is it exactly that we're looking for when we want to pay attention? And then when we find that, whatever it is, what do we do? And what can we do? And that's the information that my organization is putting out. What can we do? And there are a lot of resources. There's a lot of things that, sorry, I got distracted by the bing bing. There's a lot of resources out there for us to make a phone call, to report exactly where we notice something happening. And then put it in the hands of those who are trained to go in and deal with it. We don't encourage anybody to approach if there's a situation that you're observing, because that can be quite dangerous. When we're talking about human trafficking, it's really huge and it's really bad. And so you don't want to put yourself in a bad situation where you might get harmed. But you can make a phone call, you can reach out, you can make eye contact if you can with the victim and let them know just by your seeing them that they were seen. And I know I've seen the Facebook group that you all have developed, Lisa, Joe, and Julia, and you have explained the hand signal. It's a universal hand signal for help. And that's one of the things you can look for, in addition to someone who just looks uncomfortable being in a situation with another individual. Pay attention to that. And you don't have to stare them down, but pay attention to the interactions. If you're close enough, you can probably hear some of the words that are being exchanged. And one of the things you want to look for is control. Is that person holding a control over somebody else where they're not going to let them be free enough to go and tell somebody, hey, I'm in a bad situation here, I need help. So you're not always going to get that. You're not always going to get the person telling you what's going on. But if you do, if they're able to leave a note or somehow get word to you, then please don't ignore it. Do something. There's the saying, see something, say something. And that's where we're going to start making inroads into making a difference in this arena. So when the angels gave me this mission, yes, when the angels gave me this mission, I said my yes. I said my sacred yes. Let's do it. And the more that we can help raise the vibration of the planet, the more we're going to have peace, and we're going to have respect and honor among humans. And with this type of activity going on, we don't have any of that. It's really it's universal. I'm paying attention here in the United States, but I have also spoken to people that in other countries, and people who have shared their story after they were able to get help and to get out of the situation. So it's not a one country thing, and it can happen anywhere at any time. And as big as it is, and I don't have the numbers to rattle off the top of my head, but let's just say it's really big. And as big as these numbers are of the amount of people being trafficked, you probably have come across someone in your life. You probably come across one of the victims or a family member of someone who has been taken. More than likely, you have encountered human trafficking somewhere along the way. Maybe you weren't aware that that was what happened, but you might be aware that there's a child missing. We see signs and posters all the time, right? Missing children. So pay attention in your own neighborhood too. That's important, and watch what's happening, because a lot of these children are taken when the parents are not paying attention, or when they're out with friends, when they're out in shopping malls. That's a huge area to grab somebody. And not all of them are grabbed as a stranger. There's something called grooming. And so there's a lot that's involved with human trafficking. I wish we had like a week to talk about it instead of a few minutes, because it is very comprehensive. And the more we know, then the more we can look for and pay attention to. So I'd like at this time just to see what questions you have, and let's go that route and see what direction you want to take the conversation in.
I was wondering, just based on what you were saying, you said it's not always someone that the person doesn't know, that there's something called grooming, which just in my imagination is that an interaction between the adult and the child is set up in advance, and they develop a kind of relationship so that the child feels safe, and potentially the parents also feel safe. They trust this adult, perhaps if they've also seen the interaction. So what can parents or other adults look for, like if somebody is there as a not as an authentic connection with the child, but if they're there to groom, are there any signs that we as adults, and especially the parents of the children, can be on the alert for?
Great question, Julia. Thank you for asking that. Yes, so the people who are involved in human trafficking, they it's like they developed a playbook, right? So they know how to con these young people to get their attention. They might pay special attention to them, telling them how beautiful they are, helping them, oh, here, let me show you how to do your makeup, if it's a female. And that's another good point, that it doesn't happen just to females. This is male, female, it's across the board. So the con would be paying attention and listening, and you know having them um, tell them things, secrets, telling them things that they probably wouldn't tell their parents. You can talk to me, I'm not going to tell anybody, we'll keep it confidential. So as parents, I would say pay attention if your child is all of a sudden maybe mentioning, not even mentioning by name, but mentioning that they've got a friend and they really like the things that they're doing together, because it starts out as very innocent when they're doing the grooming. It starts out just like, I'm going to be your best friend, right? I'm going to help you to be more confident in who you are. I'm going to help you to see yourself as beautiful, and them wanting more and more time with them. And then, in a lot of instances, they'll convince them to meet them somewhere, or to go off on a trip with them somewhere. So that happens more than you could even know. It's very, very common. A lot of this happens online as well. There's a lot of the grooming that takes place with not even having met the person face to face, and thinking maybe they're talking to someone their own age or someone very innocent. So the grooming part, it's scary, really, when you dig into it and see all of these tools, all of these things that they have available that they use. And I was talking to one person who was able to get out after years of being involved in sex trafficking, as well as being used as a slave to do their bidding. And she said they made her feel so beautiful. And they even gave her singing lessons to tell her how beautiful she sounded. And it's just amazing when you think about our kids. And if we're not paying attention to them and helping them to see their beauty inside, and then here comes somebody that's like, oh, look at you, you're like a princess, then that kid is going to gravitate to that. Of course they are. So these are some of the things parents can be aware of. Is your child saying something? Are they acting different? Are they all of a sudden maybe wearing makeup where they didn't before, or using different words? So it's the little signs in the beginning that you can start to tell. And then you'll see that child just start to distance themselves from the parents, because they're getting what they need somewhere else. And that's called grooming. And it happens a lot. We don't even have numbers for how often this is happening. But it's their inroad to get the confidence of the person that they're going to eventually bring in to the trafficking ring.
Thank you. That's a whole aspect of it I hadn't even considered, and then the explanation there was just amazing. Thank you. The other thing that, well, several things come to mind as you speak, but I know you said, and I'm not sure of the numbers either, but I do know this is an increasing problem from the research that Lisa, Joe, and I have done. And I also know it's an international problem, but are there countries that it does affect more than other countries? Are there like particular like red zones where it happens more often that you can speak to, or is it just like literally all over the world?
It's universal. It is in every country. There is a preponderance for it happening closer to borders. So if there's a border town, then it's easier for them to get that child out of the country, their natural country, and into an international trafficking ring. And these are the ones that law enforcement is really focusing on. If we can get our hands on this ring and the ring leaders, and stop that, then that makes a big impact. So the towns closer to borders, surprisingly, some of the north of the New England places, Vermont is a huge hotbed for human trafficking, and they are at the Canadian border. And we know several people there that have been victims of human trafficking, and some law enforcement people that want to help us to get the word out more. Yeah, so border towns, big metropolis areas where they're not going to be so noticed. In a small town, people know each other, and we look out more for our own, to put it that way. We can see things, and we see when there's a stranger that might be approaching a child. In bigger towns, it is so common. We're talking about like New York, Detroit, Chicago, LA. So it's very common there for this just to get ignored, for it not to be seen. And that's why it's important to get this information into areas such as that. One thing that I've noticed as I go across the country are the public restrooms, and many of them do have information up. They have a number to call or signs for somebody that might be looking for that type of thing happening. But there's a lot of restrooms that do not, a lot of public restrooms. So that's one of my goals, is for every place, especially in these areas, that they have something, some posters, some phone number posted, some type of information for people to get help. So yeah, back to your question, Julia. Yes, it is more prevalent in the big metropolis areas and in border areas. And there are different ways that these kids and even adults get human trafficked as well, for cheap slave labor, for sex trafficking. So there's different ways they get them in and out of the country. And one of those ways that we found out about a few years ago is through the ships that have the big containers. So sometimes there can be a container full of people that are being human trafficked, and nobody knows. There's no sign that that's going on there, but that is something that's being looked at as well.
So I would like to comment a little bit regarding the bathroom. So when we moved from California to Texas, they have here in the US that a lot of times there's rest stops, and almost Arizona and New Mexico, you go into the bathroom and you shut the door, and there was a couple of posters that were up that address this exact conversation with the phone numbers and everything like that. And I remember telling my husband that I really thought that was an excellent idea because you just never know. You know, they may, and it can be either a woman or a man that actually is doing this. Anybody can be kidnapped and forced into areas that they don't want to be in, but they usually always have to go to the bathroom. And so I really found it quite helpful that there was something on the back of the bathroom door when they shut it, and it had a little pencil that was tied on with tape to the poster, which I thought was really neat because in that way they could write it down or they could leave a message for someone to help them. And from my research or our research that we saw that there's a lot of runaways that can be targeted quite easily, not just online, but you know, with the pretense that they're going to help them get off the street and, you know, like the grooming and everything that goes along with it, just to build up the confidence to have them, you know, trust that other person. So I am happy to hear that this is something that you find a need for, because I think a lot of people just don't know what to do. And um, are you making posters that you wanted to share with us that maybe that we could put into our documents within the group? We have some documents where they could actually go in and print them off and help, but there might be certain things that we're missing that didn't come up on our research.
Yes, absolutely. I have a poster. Would you like me to share it now for everyone to see the poster? And yes, you can absolutely put it on your group. It's available for people to download, to print it out, to share it wherever it can be shared. So this is what the poster looks like, if you can see that. So Save Someone's Child is our, Angel Speakers, it's our initiative. And so it just kind of is general. It tells what human trafficking is, that somebody's being exploited or forced or coerced into doing something that they don't want to do. And it gives some flags to look for. As I was saying earlier, they're not always going to exhibit this to where you can see it, but if you pay more attention, then you'll start watching the subtle signs of, like, a person having control over them. Sometimes it's just a glance. Sometimes it's a sharp word or grabbing them by the arm. So you can watch the interactions, and that's what some of these things that are listed here have to share with you, the red flags to watch for, and then how you can help. What I mentioned, being aware, awareness, that's the first step. Knowing what we're looking for, knowing some of those red flags, and then reporting. Again, don't engage if you see a volatile situation or you're thinking that it might be a trafficking situation. Don't engage yourself, but pick up the phone. And that's why we give the phone numbers. You can also text to, if you don't feel like getting on the phone and speaking, you can send a text message out and give us the information of where it's at. Education. That's why we're doing this, right? Making people more aware of what's happening and how we can get involved. And then when people have been in this type of situation, I'm going to stop the sharing. When people have been in this type of situation and gotten out of it, there is so much support that's needed. It's devastating to someone to be in that type of situation. And if you've listened to any victim that has been kidnapped, traumatized, sold into sex slavery, if they were fortunate enough to get out with their life, which doesn't always happen, then they really do need a lot of support, understanding, non-judgmentalism for sure. They didn't do anything wrong, and just making them aware that they're loved unconditionally, and that what happened to them was not their fault, and that they are worthy, that they are seen, they are heard. And a lot of them become our best educators about human trafficking. They're able to give us some insights and give us more awareness into what is really happening and what's taking place. And some of the ones that I've talked to, they don't want to recount the horrid things that happened, which is it's great. Nobody needs to relive that, but they're able to share what led to it, how they were taken, how they were conned and groomed enough. And a lot of them, relatives were involved. Relatives knew that they were sending them off to someplace that, they didn't know exactly what was going to happen to them, but they knew it wasn't going to be good. But then that's the other thing, is sometimes there's monetary compensation for the relatives that turn these children over to the sex traffickers. So it's very sad when I hear about that, when I hear that a trusted caregiver just sold their child to somebody that they knew that it was not going to be a good situation. Or maybe they were also lied to and said, "Oh yeah, we're a talent agency. We can help them develop into a star." And that's what one of the girls I talked to, she said, they made me feel like a star. That was the con. It's, "Oh, you're so beautiful, and let's get your makeup done just perfect, and let us help you with your dance moves and your singing voice." So there's just so much that's insidious here, and it's very dark. So you don't have to go into the dark. For anyone out there that wants to help, you don't have to go into the details. You don't have to learn what they're doing. Just know that it's not good, and it is happening more and more. Like Lisa Jo, like I think it was you that said it. It's happening more and more every day, and it's got to stop. We have to be the ones to step up and to help.
I do think that what you are talking about is very relevant, because not only are they could be sold. There's incidents where there's also organ harvesting, and you don't really think about that, but it does happen. And it's a horrible thing to even imagine that a parent or even a caregiver would just hand over their child for money. It's very disturbing, and these people that maybe have survived and been rescued, like you said, they're going to have a lifetime dealing with what they went through. And I'm sure that a lot of them have PTSD afterwards, and some of them commit suicide because they can't deal with what has happened. So I really am happy to hear that that there is a larger community that is trying to help as well. Julie, did you have any other questions?
The only thing, and I know that just crossed my mind a few times was, I do know that it happens to people of all ages, and you were talking about children to adults, but is there a particular age at which children are targeted? Is there like a age which parents can know to be kind of just a bit more aware of, or is it really ranging from like 5 to 19, or I have no idea. I'll let you speak to it.
Yeah, even younger than that, Julia. Yeah, it's all ages, and the thought is the younger the better, because there are a lot of pedophiles that will pay good money for these children that are taken and are groomed to perform. So yeah, young children especially, and we see it more and more young. I'm saying like 4 or 5 years old up to, I mean, there's really no age limit for it, because even the older ones that are kidnapped, they can be used to take care of the younger ones, and to help them to bathe and be clean, and that type of thing, play the mother role. So yeah, young children. And Lisa Jo, thank you for bringing up the harvesting of organs. That is another really big industry, and they can command the big money for these organs. So yeah, they're going to do what they're going to do to get money. The other part, and I hate even thinking about it or talking about this, is human sacrifice. And so that also is a big part of this. There are rituals where human blood is shed. And so that's another reason for taking, especially some of the younger children, the babies. So yeah, it's not a pleasant topic to talk about, but it's a necessary one. And not everything in life is going to be pleasant. But once we can see the evil and see what needs to be addressed, then we know that we can make inroads. We know we can do something about it. So thank you both so much for your questions. And I hope I've shed a little bit of light on what we're dealing with, as well as what can we do. And that's what I always ask. What can I do? Right? How can I make a difference? And if I can't go out there and be on the front lines and do something myself, at least I can support and I can educate, and I can help bring that awareness to other people that may be able to go out on the front lines. There's a lot of police that are involved, a lot of undercover agents that are working to bring down the big pieces of this that are out there and operating every day. And it's just, to me, it's just so sad that it has gotten to this point in our place of humanity. And we try to think of ourselves as civil, but there's nothing civil about what happens with human trafficking. So let's bring it back to safety for our kids as being a priority for us.
I will say that if they're not able, if you see something that is happening and you're not able to, we don't want you to put yourself in trouble or in any kind of risk. You were talking about calling in or even texting a phone number, but even if you're in a car and you suspect something, or you're out and about and you still suspect something and they get in a car, make note of the license plate, what the drivers look like, what the child looks like, because you don't have to fix it, but you can certainly be involved to give as much detailed information. And, the worst case scenario is you're wrong. But it would be horrible to know, and it probably would haunt you if you didn't report it and you were like, I don't know if I should or shouldn't. Let the authorities be the one to iron out the issue. It's just that awareness that if you see something that's not right, just try to write down as much information of what they're wearing and who they're with, because they can also be taken through the airport. So
that's a big area, right? And yes, Lisa, the more information you can give to authorities, that helps expedite them in finding the exact car or person in the field that has been in that situation. So yeah, you don't even have to give your name when you report. You can report anonymously, and just, like I said, as much information as you can give, the location, a car tag if you have it, the color, description. any description you can give of both the victim and the person that's committing that crime. So yeah, please just do something. That's the big thing. See something and say something.
Teri, how can other people help and support you, and how would they get a hold of you to get one of the flyers? Can you give us some information on if they want to help you with this, how they can help and where they should address that to?
Thank you. My organization is Angel Speakers. We are a nonprofit 501c3 organization. We do take donations. And the website is above me, angelspeakers.com. And if you go to that tab of Save Someone's Child, you'll find the poster. I'm going to, I have to get some help from my webmaster to get it to where you can download the poster directly from the website. I'm also going to supply it to you and Lisa, Joe, and Julia, so you can put it in the group as a downloadable document. And I'm also putting it on Vistaprint. On Vistaprint, you can take anything that you have access to, which this will be shareable, and you can print it locally where you're at. So that's a great way if you want to make like 10 copies of the flyer and just pass them out, or make sure you put them in a restroom or a rest area or somewhere. And don't just put a stack of them somewhere that the cleaning person will probably pick up and throw away. What I like to do is contact ahead of time the restroom where I'm going to be leaving them. Like, let's say it's a mobile station, and I will contact the owners of all the ones in that area and say, I would like to leave a flyer on human trafficking education in your restroom. So you can reach out locally. You can ask the person at the front desk and say, can I leave this flyer in the restroom? Will that be okay? And that way there's less of a chance of it just ending up in the garbage, but maybe ending up in the hands of somebody it can help. We're always looking for volunteers. So if you would like to get more involved with us at Angel Speakers, we would love that. There is a contact page, and you can just fill that out. I get it in my email, or you can email me, Teri, T-E-R-I, at angelspeakers.com. And I'd love to hear from you, have a conversation. If it's something you feel led to be more involved with, then let's make it happen. We need more and more people getting on board with this. So thank you. Thank you so much for having me on here and for allowing me to bring this important message that, yes, we can do something. We can't do everything, but we can do something. And sometimes you never know, just that one thing, it may save a person's life. Like you were saying, Lisa Joe, you just never know what's going to happen if you say something. But if you don't say something, the consequences could be really bad.
Well, we just want to thank you for all that you have shared. It has been a truly enlightening conversation. You talked about shedding light on it, and I feel like you've really shed the light of illumination, helping us to have more information, and also just shed the light of your love as well. We can feel, your concern for the safety of each child in the country, in the world, and that is the place that we all want to create, right? I think wherever we come from, whatever our background, whatever our beliefs, we all want to create a place, a world that is safe for our children. And if we can come together and unite in that, and that is what you are doing with this very beautiful and very sacred work. So we want to thank you. Just before we finish, just for people to keep in their mind as we go out, there were some things you said that really struck me, and I wrote them down. So I'd just like to repeat them if I may. One was open your eyes, I think that was what your angel said to you, but it applies to all of us. Another thing that you said that I felt was so powerful was you said most of us think, I'm just one person, what can I do? But I am one person. I am one person. What can I do? I really love the way you re-emphasize that. And then see something, say something. You've given us, clear routes of what we can do, both in terms of raising awareness, but also when we do see something, as we develop that more refined awareness because of the information you shared, where can we report it to, and what are safe ways that we can do that? I know Lisa Jo, you also added to that, and there's also information that Lisa Jo found in the group on that. So we as an international community, we are the, us, the humans living on the earth, we are the only ones who can make a difference to the kind of life that there is for everyone. So thank you for all that you are doing to change people's lives in this way, and to save someone's child, and to better the lives of people and better the world in this way. And thank you for also giving us some information and knowledge so that we can, each in our own individual way, start to make even a tiny difference, but that tiny difference ripples out and will help to make a bigger difference in the world. So we really, really want to thank you for both the work that you're doing and also the time that you have taken with us today to share about it.
Thank you. Thank you for your words. And it makes my heart feel very good, very warm that I'm not the only one that's spreading this message. And I want to thank both of you for feeling that urge and that pull to bring this to light and to help others to understand it more fully. So thank you both for your work.
Well, thank you, as Julia said. And if you guys have any questions, go ahead and contact Teri Angel at angelspeakers.com. And we will also be posting this up in our group as well as on each of our YouTube channels. So if you find that you can just donate anything or even distribute any of this information, we would encourage you to. Thank you, Teri. We love you. And guess we'll just talk to everybody later.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye, everyone.